Rhododendrons and Azaleas are two groups of plant that bring with them a certain amount of confusion and misinformation and general growing issues. Yet, like the captain of a sailing ship, I'm going to help navigate the waters of rhododendron and azalea confusion to help you understand the problems that can arise when growing them. And that's what this video is about. I want to talk to you about those jobs you don't want to be ignoring at this time of year, otherwise it will affect the quality of your flowering displays come the spring. But before I start, two things I want to talk about first. One is an issue, the other is a problem. Now I know they might sound like the same thing, but believe me, they really aren't. My issue with rhododendrons at the moment is this. We have had, at least here in the UK, a period of drought throughout the growing season. And as such, we've had an unusual phenomena, there's a word, with regards to rhododendrons insofar as you're starting to see them come into flower now in the autumn. But they already flowered in the spring and now they're flowering again now. So this has probably being caused either because they've become too stressed or that period of dormancy during the hot summer has triggered flower initiation. It shouldn't have happened. So they are flowering now, and that is lovely to see at a time of year when there are not too many plants in flower. But the problem is, come the spring, are you going to have any flowers on your rhododendron? Well, the answer is, well, certainly not as many as you would have done because those blooms have already opened and have been spent. Now you might still have some dormant, tightly held buds that will go through the winter and open up in the spring, but really it's going to be a very, very disappointing display come February, March, April, May and June. Now the problem that I have is regarding the maintenance of rhododendron dieback from head gardeners in the large historic houses that are in and around West Sussex. I'm not going to name any names because that wouldn't be fair, but we've been to a couple this year and we've had some disappointing viewings with rhododendrons that are within historic collections going back 100, 150 years ago, where rhododendron dieback is clearly there and is not being managed. You can't just leave these dying, wilting plants where the funguses that are killing them are releasing spores to be spread out around the rest of the collection. These spores are wind-borne, so as far as the wind can blow them, that is as far as these infections can carry, and once they start and take hold in the place like they have done in West Sussex, they'll just continue out to the local area and beyond. We've seen this happen so many times with other pests and diseases, like the lovely old box caterpillar moth that started up in London and has just spread everywhere over the 10-20 years. So rhododendron dieback, if you have that in your garden, don't just leave it there. You can't spray for it. That's not going to do anything. If you want to keep these plants alive, your best bet is to take some tip cuttings from a healthy section of the plant. The rest of it, dig it up, chuck it in an incinerator. Do not put that in a compost heap. Oh my God. Just come on now. So, head gardeners of West Sussex, do your job properly. Stop being lazy. Deal with the issue of rhododendron dieback, because if you don't deal with it, no one else is going to, and we'll have this disease spread out, flipping everywhere. I know I'm ranting. I know. I'll stop. So, jobs that you can't afford to ignore, otherwise you will affect the spring flowering displays of rhododendrons and azaleas. I'm going to talk about mulches. There's two types. You've got dry mulch, you've got a nutritious mulch. But before I start, rhododendrons, what is that? That is a plant that is native to Nepal, Eastern Asia. Rhododendron itself, the word means rose tree from the Greek. I mean, do the flowers really look like the flowers of a rose? I don't think so, but I'm not Greek, so what do I know? It's an evergreen plant. There are deciduous forms. There are some symbiotic forms, which you won't see in this country. Not anymore. Not since the Victorians forgot how to grow everything after being shot in the First World War. But mulches. Let's get back to mulches. There's a little bit of detail in here because they do several things. Let's go into it. First of all, weed suppressants. So you don't want weeds competing for nutrients and water around your rhododendrons, especially during periods of drought. Secondly, they can help maintain moisture in the soil by covering it and protecting it from the heat and the sun. And also, if you're using a nutritious mulch during periods of rain, the nutrition is absorbed into the water and drawn down into the soil. And one of the most important things with regard to a mulch, especially one that you're applying at the end of the autumn, early winter, is the protection from the cold. If you put down a dry mulch, something like a bark chip or a gravel, there are other types, you put a thick mulch down, that substrate is full of air pockets, and that acts as insulation and reduces the risk of damage to the roots from penetrating frost. And remember, these are woodland plants in their native habitat, and they are known to have these fibrous roots very near to the soil surface, as you would get in many plants in woodland areas. But which ones are the best, and how should you apply them? Oh, hold on a minute. If you're finding this video useful or even just mildly amusing, then don't forget to click the thumbs up, press on that subscription, and if you want to be notified of whenever we release a new video, then click on that notification bell. It helps us more than you know, and it allows us to do stupid visits like this in the future. Anyway, let's continue to find out what old Boiled Butt has to say. Bloody glasses back on. Too hot, too sunny. It's too lovely. Now your rhododendrons and azaleas. Let me just stop there. Right, azaleas have all been moved from their own genus of azalea and all been put into rhododendron group. So they're no longer called azaleas, although everybody does call them azaleas. They do look quite different, but taxonomically, that's the right word, they are now considered to be within the same genus, so really they are all called rhododendrons, although these azaleas are azaleas still. I'm just going to keep calling them all rhododendrons, so no one pulls me up on that. They're from the family Ericaceae, which is your heaths, which is from the heather, which most popular one probably, arguably, is your ericas, and it's from the word erica, from that heather, which is a heath, from which the family of your rhododendrons are from. I was going to say, ericas are lime tolerant, although all your heaths in your Ericaceae family in general are acid loving and don't like to be grown in lime at all. There are some out there that will do, like your Incaro range. We're getting off subject now. So, put simply, rhododendrons prefer in general to grow in acidic soil. So when you're planting it, you should have already grown it in acidic soil, or at least planted it in regular soil surrounded by an ericaceous compost. You're looking at something like a pH of between 6 and 6.5 to grow these. But what's important is regarding the mulch. If you're going to put down a mulch, then you can choose to put down a mulch that is mildly acidic, which helps maintain the conditions that these plants require at the root. If they're kept in alkaline conditions, you'll notice that these the foliage will start to go yellowish. It's called chlorosis. It's because they are unable to produce the chlorophyll pigment because of the lack of iron and magnesium in the soil. If it's too alkaline, then these elements become unavailable for the rhododendron to take up through the roots. And of course, if it can't produce the chlorophyll pigment, which is green, then you start to see the carotenoid pigments below that within the leaf, which is why you get that yellowing off. Let's get back on subject. Anyway, so mulches. You can put down an acidic mulch. You're looking at bark chips or composted bark. You're looking at pine needles. You're also looking at leaf mulch, although that could blow away in strong winds if it dries out. So if you're going to choose a mulch for your rhododendrons, these are the best ones to choose from. But always be aware, never have your mulch touching the stem of the plant, because that can thin the bark, making it more open to infection from these fungal diseases that I spoke earlier that can cause rhododendron wilt, especially if you do have known rhododendron wilt plants in the vicinity. So be very careful with that. That is all I'm going to talk about regarding mulches. Everything else is so much easier. This next mistake is to neglect your watering. Now, we have had some rain recently, and quite a lot of it, but since then, again, nothing at all. The ground is getting very dry. And if you've planted your rhododendron in partial shade, which is usually underneath the canopy of a larger plant such as a tree, you've got to remember that the root system of a tree is significantly larger and more powerful than the root system of a rhododendron. So if there is a reduced amount of water in the soil, the tree will outcompete your rhododendron, and you don't want your rhododendron to become water stressed, because it can possibly abort the flower buds, or it can become weak and again more open to infection from fungal attack. So watering is very careful, especially if it's in competition with larger plants. And at the moment in the UK on the south coast, we've had no rain for about a month, and there's no rain forecast going forward. So, and it's not just rhododendrons, it's all those woodland plants, especially evergreen woodland plants at this time of year. Make sure they're watered, get out there, pick up your watering can, put something on the roots. Otherwise, again, you can affect at least next year's flower display, and at worst, the health of your plant. Now, this next problem. Have you heard of bud blast? I'm sure you have. It's a fungal infection that affects the closed flower buds of not only rhododendrons but other plants within the Ericaceae family. Now, you could spray it with a fungicide, but that probably isn't going to do much. But what you can do is this fungal infection is passed on to your plants by the rhododendron leafhopper. I'll throw up a little picture of it right now so you can see what it looks like. So if you have rhododendrons, keep your eye out. If you see this bug flying about, then consider spraying your rhododendron with a decent insecticide. Look, the flowers aren't open, so any of the toxin is not going to get into any pollinating parts or nectar of the flower, because they're not available to your beneficial insects, so you can spray it safely. So be aware of that. Bud blast, no, you probably can't spray it with a fungicide and actually expect it to work, and really by the time you spotted it, your flowers probably anyway. So rhododendron leafhopper, keep an eye out for that. If you see it, spray your plant. But as always, never spray a plant that is in open flower, because that is just going to damage your local beneficial insect wildlife. Well, it's just two more things left to talk about. Now, the first one is regarding deadheading spent flower blooms. Now, I know this isn't the right time of year for it, but it bears mentioning anyway, because it's really important with regards to next year's flowering display. Once your flowers have finished, just snap them off. Do not allow the seed heads to be produced, because it takes a lot of energy out of the plant. By doing that, you keep your plant in a stronger position, which means it will produce better blooms. Furthermore, it often results in additional new growth stems coming off, and of course you'll get a flower on each one of those. So you can only really do this when plants are reasonably small. If you've got huge specimens, it is just not going to work. But again, this is one that is done, say, early summer. I know it's not early summer now, we have missed the opportunity, but remember that for next year it's really good. And the last thing is just pruning. If you're ever going to prune these and you want to maintain your flowering display, then again, prune immediately after flowering. That'll promote new side shoots, you get your flowers on that. But always, always bear this in mind. You want to disease any dead, you want to prune any dead, diseased, dying or crossing branches. That is for any time of year. The thing with crossing branches, because they rub, you'll damage the stem, you've got open wounds, and again, it's an infection point for fungal diseases to get in there. And that is all I have to say regarding those jobs you should not be ignoring this time of year when it comes to growing rhododendrons and azaleas, which are also rhododendrons. Thank you for watching. But if you've got any other great tips regarding this subject and I've not mentioned it, then put that in the comments. We would love to hear from you. But before you go, don't forget to click that like button, click subscribe, and if you want to be notified whenever YouTube releases a new video of ours, click on that notification bell. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.